I often say there are 5 basic reasons we might train this. The first is that we might have the professional obligation, right? If you're a bouncer or a security guard, a law enforcement officer, a guard, whatever the case is. But that always affects the smallest portion of our society. It's very few people that have that responsibility. Slightly larger than that, we would hope would be the moral obligation. We would hope that there are lots of people out there that no matter what they train in, even if it's offensive weapons and whatever, they would still have a desire to not needlessly harm people. This would be the ideal. Sometimes I'm not so sure if that's a quickly dwindling portion of the population. But even larger than that, even the people that think they, or truthfully don't feel they have any moral alignment, there is what we would term the psychological repercussions of harming. And there are many people that are fully justified in their mind, morally, professionally, soldiers for example, that go and do harm, that then later have post-traumatic stress or ramifications. And often, it can come from a number of factors. It can come from a lack of acceptance from the institution, or a failure to debrief, or certainly a lack of acceptance from the society that they're seeking to protect, or the people that they value that now sort of turn them into monsters. But it can also come from a feeling of learned helplessness. If we're in a context and we feel that all I had was a hammer, so I had to hit. But all I knew how to do was shoot. I didn't feel like I had any other options. We certainly see it in law enforcement. Because I do a lot of work with law enforcement, I deeply understand the difficulty, the limitations with training time and budgets, and I know how hard it is and how long it takes to make people competent under stress. And the social expectation put on law enforcement officers is enormous, but the resources are very few. And so what happens is then we have people going into a context that they're grossly under-equipped for. And so that always leads to bad things, right? There's no way around it. So another argument for responsible power, responsible tactics, is giving us choices, right? And that's a very big sort of portion of what we do. But even larger than that, if you had no professional obligation, morally you felt justified to harm in your context, psychologically, durable as all hell, we have the legal system. An increasingly litigious society, you could have all those components in check and you can still be legally be responsible for defending yourself in your own house, right? That's the reality of the world. So there's a need for that there. At the very minimum, to understand the parlance and the sort of expectation, the social expectation of responsible power. If we are going to be all cowboy about it and not care and post our image on Facebook and to the outside world about being sort of cavalier about harming, there's ramifications. It comes back to bite you. Larger than even that is what I would term social context. And this is something I saw heavily as a bouncer. When you're working as a doorman, you do everything right. You hurt somebody and then it's accepted badly, they will come back to the door and they will beat you down with their cousins and their brothers. So you could be in a context where you're being stalked. We see this, a woman being stalked. She does everything right. She tries to avoid, defines a single limit, doesn't even really fight back per se, defines a limit, and then the dude goes crazy and starts coming back with friends and defaming her on the internet and turning her life into hell, right? We see this. So there's a social consequence anytime we defend ourselves. There's always a risk that you will have to, and the worst thing in the world is to defend yourself when you're fully justified on every level, and then now to have to change your pattern, change your phone number, move, change your jobs, hide on the internet, and all the rest of it. And this happens to people that come in through our door all the time. So when we have options, if I was in a context like that where my whole world had been shaken like a snow globe, and now I had to hide, the very worst thing would be to say, fuck, I wish I would have been able to do something a little bit more responsible, because truth be told, in my own brain, I feel like I was a bit excessive, but I didn't know what else to do. Right? So that's another reason we train it. Normally, that's the structure. For today, we're not even going to look at that. We're not even really going to concern ourselves with that. We're going to look at it more as a continuance of what we've done all week, sort of an in-fight, out-fight kind of spectrum. We want to look at some of the problem areas that we encounter. And what our real goal is going to be today is we want to focus on scalability. We want to focus on having a physical delivery system, an ability to move that allows you to go in your moral direction, allows you to do whatever it is you want to do. You want to access your fucking folder and go to town? That's your call. You want to never hurt somebody under any circumstance? That's your call. I'm not imposing and I'm not limiting or judging. I just want to give you a delivery system that consistently works for everyone. And what we're looking at it as clinching in general, which is what occurs when we try to restrain, is a physical period of inhibition, not meaning resistance, but inhibition, where we slow down things and we can think. If you ever think, if you approach body work, many methods have what they term periods of inhibition, where if I have bad posture, rather than stretch or move, if I feel myself out of alignment, stop for a minute, be aware of how you're sitting, be mindful of your posture, and then proceed with your next action with consciousness. Slow things down. If we think of boxing, you get clocked in the head, your whole world is about to end, you clinch, you regain your senses, you're back in the fight. So restraint tactics are very much a period of inhibition. It lets you get in.